Okay, Laura.
Hello.
Thank you very much for being part of our podcast.
You're very welcome.
Mouthful of bacon butty, hopefully.
Bacon butty.
All right, so let's talk about the bacon butty. What have you made?
Very trad. What we would do at Field and Green on Sundays, we talk about people having their hangover cures. Bacon, homemade brioche, egg and buttered bread, or warmed bread, and HP sauce. You can have HP or you can have ketchup at F&G.
Now, the
Field and Green.
bacon, Field and Green. So,
Can I have another bite?
yeah, please, just keep eating. Yeah,
Thank you.
we can cut that noise out. I think what we'll do then is, if you could just briefly introduce yourself and explain what Field and Green that we've already spoken about is.
About Field and Green.
How about yourself?
How about myself?
So just introduce yourself.
I'm Laura. I am originally from London, UK. Moved here about, it's kind of maybe almost 11 years now, which is incredible. My partner is Rachel. She's a Kiwi. We met in London.
Right, so she brought you back.
She brought me back.
That's how I ended up here as well.
Most people end up. And after several failed attempts, to be honest, when she first sort of talked about it, I just said, no way, I'm not. I mean, well, we've been here a few times for holidays, and I loved it. But I just said, maybe when I'm 80, I'll move here. But it was like, it's too quiet. I love London. I've got all my friends and family here. No, it's not happening. So anyway, and then. I was working in central London, she was working in central London, London's mad, and I just came home one day and I just said, you know what, I think I'm ready to move.
Wow.
I think I've had my fill.
Did you walk into the house and announce that?
I can't remember, but I think maybe after a few glasses of wine, I said, I've had enough. I'm ready for a new adventure. And I've been in I was head chef at Sotheby's cafe, which was a restaurant open to the public, head chef for 12 years. It's been great. I've written a cookbook, Sotheby's cookbook. I've done loads of stuff, but it's like I've done what I can. Rachel's an architect. She owned her own company with two other people in London. She was a medical architect, and she said to me, she said, okay, let's move to New Zealand. We open a restaurant together. She runs the business side and I cook. And I thought, that sounds great. That was a trigger. I thought, yeah, that sounds perfect. Because we'll be together, we'll do something together, and yeah.
Well, I mean, we're skipping ahead for quite a bit there, and I'm going to get back to that. But what I want to talk about right now is this bacon butty.
Right. She says.
It's all right, we'll cut that bit out.
There we go. Spilling water in it.
And the reason I want to talk about the bacon butty is because the name Bacon Butty of the podcast is because we wanted to start the conversation talking about food of the soul. And Field and Green always said soul food. So there's a real link here, and it's very important for me personally to talk to you because of that. But this is a bacon butty.
Oh dear. What's wrong?
Well, I want to know whether or not bacon butty was part of your history.
No, not really.
Well, I'm guessing it isn't.
No, okay. So I'm a secular Jewess. Family, very much into Jewish traditions, etc. My brothers were all bar mitzvahed. I wasn't bat mitzvahed. I didn't want one. But the whole thing of being Jewish was really important, but not religiously. So we didn't keep kosher.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay.
But we didn't. It's kind of like a funny thing. We didn't have bacon, but we'd have Parma ham because that's more sophisticated. Right. You know what I mean? It's that sort of double standard thing that my parents would have. Parma ham and melon's fine.
Yes. Okay.
But not a gammon steak with pineapple.
Yeah. Right.
Because that's a bit working class.
Right. So there's, I mean, and it's something I've thought about before, because obviously, you know, as a chef, if there are foods that you don't eat, I don't know how that works.
No, I don't know how someone who's a vegan can work in a restaurant that's not a vegan.
Yeah.
Or even vegetarian. It's all about
taste.
It's all about taste. I mean, I suppose you say you don't eat, maybe, you know, if you Indian chefs you don't eat beef. I suppose you don't have to eat beef if you've got a nice sauce with it, etc. But it does. I mean, it's, you know, you're putting these in your mouth. If you can't do that, I don't quite know how you can.
Sell it to somebody.
Really judge. I don't. You can't really judge it. I don't think.
Okay. So.
But if someone says, "Oh, listen, I'm fine," or I taste it if I have to. It's like, well, okay, then you're not really vegetarian.
Yeah. So bacon butties probably weren't a culinary experience in your family very often.
No.
What would have been the go-to food? What would have been your version of a bacon butty?
Oh gosh. I suppose we'd have smoked salmon bagels.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoked salmon cream cheese, chopped herring, chopped liver.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of stuff that Mum would make, which I love. I still love, you know.
I used to live in North London town called Radlett.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And
my brother lives in Mill Hill.
Right.
And so he's kind of, so I know Radlett.
Yeah.
So a bit further up.
And there's a Jewish bakery there that makes the most. Or there was. I mean, we're talking 20 odd years ago, so I'm sure there still is. That would make these most amazing bagels, and smoked salmon, and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I love smoked salmon. I've got some smoked salmon in the fridge. I've never really don't have smoked salmon in the fridge. Really.
Okay, so let's go back to the start. Where were you born?
I was born in London,
Whereabouts?
Westminster Hospital.
Oh yeah.
1966.
And where did you live?
I was brought up in Richmond, Surrey.
Right. Okay.
So I lived 6 months in Golders Green.
Right.
Ghetto of Golders Green. It was Kingsbury actually. And then we moved, family moved to Richmond.
Okay. And was food part of that? What were your parents doing?
Huge. My mum was she didn't work. She was a, house. She was a mother. You know what I mean. I wouldn't say housewife, but we did have cleaners and stuff, so she wasn't that much of a housewife. But and my dad owned a load of outdoor wear shops called Millets.
Oh yeah.
Probably know
Millets.
Millets,
Yeah.
Well, there was like different millets for different parts of the family. So old Greenfields, which we turned into. Do you remember Greenfields?
I think I do.
They had about 80 shops in the UK.
Yeah.
Tents and leisure wear, but leisure wear before it was cool to. You know, it's not like it is now when it's all really cool to have it. It was sort of leaking tents and stuff like that.
Yeah. All of my tents have always leaked, so maybe I got them there.
So he worked really hard, and I think he only had Sunday off really.
Yeah.
And
So what do you think? Do you have an early food memory?
I suppose Friday night dinners. You
Yeah.
know, sounds like a cliche, but it's true. You know,
The whole family came together.
Yeah, and you had to. You were never out. You didn't just say, "Oh, I'm going out to friends on Friday night." You know, Friday night was absolutely sacred. You know, it was probably the only time we were slightly religious. You'd said a blessing for the wine, a blessing for the bread, sit down, have chicken soup. You know, Mum was a very good cook.
Right.
Really, really good cook. And my grandma, her mum was a really good cook as well. So, chicken soup with candid, which are dumplings.
Right. Okay.
And then roast chicken, and it was chicken theme. And then she was very much. She loved cooking and just kind of showing off really. So she'd have all these fantastic cordon bleu 60s, lovely these amazing sort of, I wouldn't call them more like brochures more than cookbooks, with all these really really rich desserts, and she'd make like 3 or 4 desserts.
Wow.
For us, even if it was just like 6 of us. I got 3 brothers.
Right.
So there were 6 of us at dinner.
Okay.
But usually there was my grandparents would come, or my aunt would come, or another great aunt would come. You know, she always had people over for Friday night.
So you were set up quite early in a kind of food environment.
Very much so. And I'd help her. You know, I really did enjoy, you know, she'd like, "Come on Laura, come downstairs and roll the candid with me," or I was like, "Yeah, great." So, you know, she'd have news on, or some music on, and we cook together.
Yeah, and obviously you've already got that link. I mean, you've already explained there's a link between food and culture and soul food there already.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting down on a Friday night because the whole family's coming together. There's some very specific foods that I'm sure a lot of people listening to this have never heard of.
Yeah.
Because they're cultural foods.
Yes.
So you've linked all of that together.
Yeah.
Quite a good start for somebody that becomes.
Well, I think, due to this, bagels, everyone knows what a bagel
Yeah.
is. Or a bagel.
They don't know how to spell it, you're
They don't know
right.
how to spell, an English way, you say bagels.
Yeah.
I say bagels now, because if I said a bagel, people
Yeah.
would know what I was talking about.
No.
But it's Beigels.
Yes.
Bagels.
Yeah.
And you go to, I still go, when I go back to London, which was like last year, go to Brook Lane and go to the Bagel Bake. It sounds weird saying Bagel Bake, doesn't it now? It sounds like you don't know how to pronounce a bagel.
Yeah.
24-hour Bagel Bake, and, they are, I've got to say bagel, I'm just going to carry on saying bagels, it's too weird.
It's
but yes, it was always bagels.
Yeah.
Bagels. And then the American is, you go, you think about America and bagels and lox and cream cheese and it's part of the, you got ugly bagels, you got the schmear and you got the this and that, and so it's very mainstream now.
Schmear is what I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
I used to
schmear.
have a bagel with schmear.
Schmear, which is like you're schmearing something else.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so sort of onomatopoeic.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It's very Yiddish.
Yeah.
Which
And
is,
so we did a podcast with Beth earlier, and
Did you?
made we did. You wouldn't believe it, would you?
Who's Beth?
And
Did she like her? Did she like her?
She did like it, yes. Yeah. You'll be able to hear it, so if she swore about it or said anything bad, you'll know.
She's probably disappointed she didn't get the proper.
So you made the bagels?
Yes.
Bagels.
Bagels.
The bagels.
Bagels,
You
the
made
bagels.
the bagels. And you did explain to us earlier on how you make a bagel. And
Yeah.
I think you should just very quickly take us through the process of
Right,
making
well,
a
these are sourdough bagels.
at home.
So I've got this little bit of starter that actually
How old's the starter?
The starter's 11 years. I started my starter the day I got here.
Right. You didn't
So-
bring one from the UK. Don't think you'd be allowed, would you?
So you couldn't do it. You might. People say maybe if you dried it and then you had it. I was like, you know what? New life.
New life, new
New
starter.
starter. Let's start a new life. Boom, boom. God,
There's a book
do
there.
stand up.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Sit down and eat.
I'd rather do sit down.
Yeah, me too.
It's much easier. I've stood
So
up.
you
for
started
most
your
of my bloody
starter.
life. I started my starter. And
11 years later.
11 years later, it's still sitting in my. So we use that for Field and Green. We use that for all our
Wow.
sourdough,
Right.
for all our bread at Field and Green.
Yeah.
And everyone's got a little bit of starter. My chefs have got a little bit of starter. So it's kind of like it's dispersed around, and a few other people have got it. Dispersed around New Zealand, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So take it out of the fridge, feed it a little bit. I mean, a tiny amount. You only need a tiny amount. So, like 25 grams of starter, 25 grams of water, 25 grams of strong flour. Let it come up, bubble. 48 hours, do it again. Then make a levain or a poulish, whatever. It's like a starter, a starter of a starter. I can't quite explain it.
Yeah.
And I did that on Friday night, and then Saturday I made the bagels, and this morning I got up and I boiled them, because that's the whole thing about a bagel, you boil it first,
Yeah.
and then bake it.
Right. Wow.
And that's the thing about that's a bagel that's just different from any other. You don't boil any other bread, I don't think.
No.
Might boil a pretzel, but it's not a bread. It's more, well, it's kind of a bread, I suppose. And while you boil it, you kind of set it. It makes the outer side a bit crunchier, makes them chewier.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about bagel. It's
They need to be
the bagels that you get, if you went in a New World, most people think a bagel is just bread with a hole in it.
Yeah.
And it's just a soft, pappy bread
Yeah.
with a hole
With
in
a hole
it,
in
and
it.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Your jaws. I always say your jaws go to ache
Yeah.
by the end of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then that's a proper bagel.
Yes. But I
So
can see why most
I'm pretty
people.
happy with them. I mean, they're as close. Obviously I've got great references to what I know a good bagel is.
Yes.
Because I know, and there's and there's also a place in Golders Green called Daniel's funny enough.
Right, okay.
Daniel's quite a Jewish name.
It wasn't more. Yeah, Daniel's a very Jewish name. Yeah.
And their bagels are pretty damn good as well. So they're on a par with Brick Lane, but Brick Lane, I love the atmosphere and it's just great.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I
Can
said.
I have another bite?
Please do. Yeah, my past career was very much in that North London area, and so we were always getting bagels delivered to the office and so on and so forth. So where are we? We're in Richmond. Okay. So what happens? Where do we get from Richmond to today? What takes you from Richmond? How does your career start?
So I went to school, went to Godolphin and Latimer in Hammersmith. I'm not academic at all. I'm also quite lazy. Well, I was late. I mean, I'm not lazy as a chef, but I can be quite lazy if you give me the right
Environment.
If you give me the right environment, I can be very, very lazy. And I think that's why I'm a chef, because it's like you have to get it done.
Yeah.
If there was a project that I had 3 years to do, I'd do it the night before.
Right.
I just don't think
So you like
I need
you
to
like
have
the
the
pressure.
discipline. I need the discipline.
Yeah.
I really need the discipline to go. You've got to be ready by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that I know I will be ready.
Yeah.
So anyway, went there. Went to drama school. Wanted to be an actress.
Right.
Which a lot of people go, that figures. She's a bit dramatic.
And so.
I did go to drama school. My parents, probably the best bit of advice they'd ever given me, they just said, you need a backup, darling. Chances are you're going into a profession where you're 98% are unemployed. So why don't you do a secretarial course, which I thought, whoa, or a cookery course. I thought, that sounds, I love cooking. So I went off to Wingfield Place in Windsor, which is a part of the Cordon Bleu School. Quite funny that I'm now cooking in
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good. Full circle.
And it's very popular. It's basically how to become a wife school, it should have been called.
Oh, okay.
So my mum was desperate, but she was fighting the losing battle. She
didn't know at that point.
No,
Right.
no, that's another massive story.
Yes.
Or maybe she did, and she was desperately scared. She was trying to get me push.
Okay.
Anyway, but I loved this course. So it was like a weekly boarder. All these really heavy cordon bleu dishes, which we made everything by hand, all cakes by hand, everything by hand. It was a great discipline, tiny space, and I really, really loved it. I enjoyed it so much. But then I thought, that was great, but now I'm going to go to drama school.
Right.
Went to drama school for 2 years, did a couple of fringe shows, which were quite good, got an equity card.
Oh.
Even got an agent.
Do you still have it?
No.
Do you have to get it?
No. I think you've got to pay.
Yeah.
You can keep it, but
I
didn't bother.
No.
And then, nothing really came about, not surprisingly. I was still living at home. My 3 brothers had all left home. I'm the third in line. And home life was stressful. So I thought, I'm going to get out. And I went and rented. And I thought, well, I need money for that. So I got a job cooking.
Right.
And I've never really looked back.
Yes. So where was your first job?
It was in a place called The Stable in Barnes. So
Okay.
I've moved, so I was Richmond, and then I moved Barnes, Putney, east, until actually Richmond Lime. We bought a house near Canary Wharf, Limehouse, which is what we sold, and then we bought this place.
Oh.
So I've got east throughout my time in London. But so that was a pub restaurant.
Right.
And it was fine.
Yeah.
And then I moved with the owners, who are friends of mine. They bought a place called the Stepping Stone. They bought a restaurant in Battersea, which they called the Stepping Stone, and I became
their chef.
Yes, and I was there for a while, and then I moved, and then I've always wanted to go to Australia. Obviously, this thing of being down under in the Antipodes has always been something in my blood.
Yeah.
And I always had to think about Australia, so I got a student visa, a working visa, to go to, and I went to Australia. I went to Melbourne for what was going to be 6 months. I actually ended up spending 18 months in Australia.
Cooking or just travelling?
Cooking,
right.
I helped open a restaurant in Paran, in Chapel Street. Then I did a bit of, touring up the coast, and then I met this woman who had a restaurant in Alice Springs.
Right, okay.
And it was called Swingers. I kid you not. But it was not a swinging cafe. I mean, it wasn't.
It wasn't swingers in the word. Swingers,
it wasn't
no.
swingers. How she was
Although
German.
in Alice
she
Springs,
was German.
Right.
So maybe she didn't
maybe
get
you
it.
just didn't get the full service.
She didn't get it. No, well, obviously I was not attractive enough to be part of the swinging set. Anyway, so it was called Swingers, and she ran the daytime, and she said, I'm really looking for a chef to work at night, to open the place at night. So I just said, sure. So we travelled across from Sydney to 3 days to Alice Springs, and I lived there. I lived there for 6 months, and I loved it.
Right.
Absolutely loved it.
This is in Sydney.
In Alice Springs,
right?
Alice Springs for 6 months.
You loved living in Alice Springs.
I loved it.
So why?
It was an amazing group of people.
Yeah, right. It's a small community.
Very small community,
yeah.
very diverse. You know, you think, wow. You know, you've got your rednecks, you've got Aboriginals, you've got your guilty white people going there to help. You know, anthropologists,
Guilt-ridden,
doctors, guilt-ridden,
Yeah.
Pakia,
Yeah.
going, and a lot of gay people there. Don't quite know why. Every month there was a disco called Asylum,
Right.
which the whole of the Northern Territories would go to. It was fantastic.
Maybe this is a kind of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
A little bit.
Kind of spin-off.
Yeah, maybe.
And because that went through Alice, didn't it?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
they went
absolutely.
through Alice. Yeah.
So I loved it. I really loved it. And then I wanted to stay, but I'm not a qualified chef.
Right.
Okay, I know I did my 3 months, but that was kind of like a twiddly course. I never actually went to chef school, so I've just learned along the way.
Okay. Which comes back to soul food.
Yes,
That's where it comes from.
Therefore, I could not get a visa because I didn't have the points.
Ah. Okay.
So I came back to England and just carried on cooking, and
So apart from your mother pushing you into culinary school,
yeah.
any mentors along the way? Anybody that you would kind of say had helped you in your path towards being a chef? It seems quite organic.
Not really. Yeah.
No. So and where did your?
I mean, I say maybe that's rude to say not really. I mean, I can't think of anyone. No, there was no like, oh my god, this person I want to be.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I made loads of mistakes at the beginning. I mean, I was not a very good cook at the beginning. And low self-esteem, low confidence, really low confidence. So, and cooking is about confidence.
Yeah.
If you don't feel that you're going to do well, it will turn to shit.
Right. Yeah.
It really will.
Yeah.
So, I used to do directors' lunches and, do stuff like that. And sometimes I just knew that they weren't great. But just carried on. And
So how did you learn what ingredients go with what flavours go together?
I spent cookbooks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Or I was, told, and we cook this with this, and you did it.
Lots
no,
of
no
trial and
internet.
No internet.
Days.
No.
You could
No,
just
exactly.
look on your phone and see what goes with what. So you just had to try and get it right.
Yeah. And you did, obviously.
Yeah, I got it. Now I have.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I think I know how to cook.
So all right. So at what point in your life do you think you suddenly got the confidence and realised that you
it
were?
was actually Sotheby's, which is like, so I'm already mid-30s.
Yeah.
But
Was this after Alice Springs?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Alice
okay.
Springs. Then I did a few more jobs
Yeah.
here and there. Did okay. Was kind of floating around.
Always in
I
London?
worked. Sorry.
Always in London.
Always in London.
Yeah.
No, I did work for Caterpillar, who are the tractors, but they're also
Yes.
the clothing company.
Yes.
They at their headquarters. I actually did in-house catering there,
Right.
but very much like on shared bowls and so not like canteen food. Trying to be sharing plates and stuff like that. So I did that for a few years. Got made redundant actually, and then went away for 6 months with Rachel around the world. Came here for 3 months, New Zealand.
Personal question, but how long have you and Rachel been together?
2001.
Right.
24 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Quite a long time.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And congratulations to Rachel too.
Yeah,
Yep.
she'll go, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay, so let's. Sorry, I took you aside. So
It's
let's
okay.
go back to Sotheby's.
Yeah, so then I suppose I started off and I felt like it was my own restaurant really. They just left me alone.
Okay.
And the more they left me alone and said, "We trust you, Laura," I think all I had to hear was, "Hey, we trust you," and then I trusted myself.
Yeah.
I think I just had to hear those words,
Yeah.
and then great feedback from customers. I said I wanted to write a cookbook. They said, "Sure." It took 2 years, start to finish. It's actually on the shelf somewhere. You can find it.
So this,
Have a look.
without a doubt, this is the pivotal moment, and it seems to come back to that trust.
Yeah,
So
it's that love
the
and
confidence
trust. Yeah,
and trust.
which okay, well, I won't really press on, but was not there in my childhood.
Right.
Okay.
And
Let's
it
put it
isn't
that
in
way.
a lot of people's childhoods,
Yeah.
especially from that era.
Yeah, it's tough.
So-
It's a school of hard knocks.
Yes.
That's the one.
So somebody gave you that confidence
Yeah,
as you
it's
came
just-
into Sotheby's.
Yeah, which is weird because I remember my mum, who was very, very good at putting me down. When I said I got the job, she said, "Well, that's a very good restaurant, Laura." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you've got to keep the standards up."
Yes, Mum. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
why they've taken me. That's
yeah.
why they've given me a job.
Yeah, but at the same time, in the little thing in the back of your head,
Yeah.
oh shit, she thinks I can't go.
Yeah,
Do
of
this.
course. Yeah.
But I did,
Yeah.
and I made a great success out of it. Did that, and met Rachel. No, I'd already met Rachel before then.
So we're at Sotheby's.
Yeah.
What kind of food are we cooking at Sotheby's?
we are cooking. I think I found my style. I think that's.
Right.
I think that's what.
Oh, so not only did they trust you to do the
I
cooking, you did the menus.
I did the menus,
You
and
did
I
everything.
changed weekly.
Right.
They wanted weekly changing menus.
Oh my God! Right.
Because also they wanted it food that complemented what was on show at Sotheby's at the time, which is really amazing.
Okay.
Like, Islamic. Don't put pork belly on the menu
Yeah.
because you're going to get a lot of Muslims coming for lunch. Yeah, as I said, an open restaurant. It wasn't a staff canteen. It was people come for lunch. It was business lunches. It was business meetings. It was directors that would entertain their clients. It was ladies who lunch along Bond Street. It was all sorts of people. Contemporary, low on the carbs.
Right. Okay.
Old masters, get some grouse on the menu.
Yeah.
Russian, put a bit of caviar on there and get some borscht.
I mean, this is a dream job. Sounds to me like
It
a dream
was
job.
pretty fantastic, and it was Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
lunches.
Oh right. Okay.
Occasionally we do brunches for the weekend, but there was a lot of work that went into it. But and changing weekly was, but it's very good. It's very good discipline. The
So-
problem is, by the time Friday comes, you've just got it right. You've tweaked it just how you want it, and then it's like,
And then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were doing regular. Was it weekly changes at Film Green or regular?
We started
changes?
doing weekly at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I said, that's it, we're doing weekly, and actually, it's bloody hard work to do weekly.
That's what I was coming to.
It's also financially it's not great because you're like, okay,
Because your stock.
Yeah, you've got your stock.
Yeah.
What do I do? Do I do this with a different sauce for next week? Do I freeze it? Do I give it to staff? So it became less and less as the years went on.
Yeah.
But we always change stuff.
Okay.
There was always tweaks. Restaurants, I see their menu and, they haven't changed it for 3 months. I think, oh my God, that's...
Or more.
Yeah, or a year, whatever.
Yeah.
I think, how can you get inspired if you're doing the same thing every day? I don't think food gets better the longer it's on the menu. I think it gets worse.
Yeah, well, eventually,
Everyone's on auto.
You have some kind of curve, I guess, where it gets better and then you're just on auto.
Or just you're not, it's just,
And it's
are
not-
you a chef or are you just,
Yeah.
are you just going through the motions,
And then the soul
Yeah.
of the food has gone.
Yeah. So, yes.
So just, I'm going to take you back to Sotheby's again because I'm quite amazed by this They give you the trust, and they have the confidence in you to come up with a different menu every week based on you know whatever's being sold.
Yeah.
How does that physically work? You sit down at the weekend and have to come up with a menu?
Oh no, I'm working on the menu by Wednesday.
Right. Okay.
Monday, Tuesday is like, Monday is like, oh okay, let's just get everything out. Tuesday is, whoo, little breather. Wednesday is, oh shit, I've got to think about next week. Thursday, maybe prepping a few little bits for next week as well as doing your work for the week. Friday, getting rid of everything you can. And then, I'm starting again.
So it's quite intense.
Yeah, it was really intense.
And you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I did.
Because it sounds like that's your personality, and if it wasn't intense, you would have got bored very quickly.
I think so, yes.
Okay, so we go from, what happens after Sotheby's? Where are we at now?
We are, Sotheby's, I left 2014.
Yeah.
Had sort of, and we left for New Zealand. So I left in May, and we left for New Zealand in July.
Okay.
So basically packed the whole house up.
So it's straight from Sotheby's to New Zealand?
Yeah. Everyone thought we were bonkers. I mean, everyone thought we were mad to come here. You know, like, we've got 2 great jobs, health insurance, safety net, lovely house.
Parents still alive at that point?
At that point, yes.
Yeah. Any words of wisdom from your mum at that point?
No, she by that she had actually she was actually quite a wise woman in the end, and she let us go. Dad was heartbroken, but no, she was a bit more philosophical. She'd been on her own journey,
right?
So she was like, you know, we're sad, but you
Good
go,
on you.
you go,
yeah,
you got to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people think, why are you in your late 40s, both of you, going to the other end of the world and opening a restaurant in Wellington, which has got the most saturated amount of, you know, more restaurants per capita than New York? You're bonkers. And we probably were, but I was kind of naive and thought, well, we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it, and it's going to be great. So we packed the whole house up. I mean, obviously, I was incredibly scared as well.
Yeah.
Rachel was incredibly excited. She was coming home after 27 years.
Yeah.
So she'd lived in England more than she'd lived in New Zealand.
And is she originally from Wellington?
No, she's from Tamutu.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, she's a TA girl. She's a farmer's daughter.
Right. Ending up in the big smoke of Wellington.
Yeah, massive smoke. But we had been here a few times.
Yeah.
And we liked it. We just thought, we liked the culture, we liked the whole city. You could walk around it. I felt like it was a little San Francisco. You know, just like the vibe. So we thought, you know, this is the place. If we're going to open a restaurant, people actually care about food here. So let's do it here.
Yeah. Brave. Yeah, it's really
brave. No, or brave or naive or both. I don't think I thought about it enough.
I think those 2 words are the same.
Yes. Yeah.
I definitely think from my point of view, those 2 words are the same.
Yeah, so, and I always say, you know, how'd you get on with, you know, Rachel, if we're together and we've opened a restaurant together and we work together and we're still together, we're going to be together, man.
Yeah, that's a good test.
It's a really good test.
Yeah.
It's a really good test.
So, so tell me about Field and Green then.
Okay, so my name's Laura Greenfield. Rachel came up with the name.
Right.
She's Rachel Ferguson. We thought Fergufield. Nah, we thought, you know, we thought of trying to get our 2 names in there.
Yeah. And
never really came about. And then she said, I think Field and Green. And I went, oh, I love it. It's all about me. And she said, it sounds English.
Yeah.
Not that we're trying to be an English restaurant, but it sounds like you're in a partnership with someone, which we were.
Yeah.
And it just sounds rather clean. You know, even 5 letters. As an architect, she's looking at design-wise already. Lovely big ampersand in the middle. Yeah. She's already, you know, we've got the business cards printed. And we haven't even got a restaurant.
Yeah.
But she had the vision. She, as an architect, you know, she's that forward. This is why we work so well together. She's that forward-thinking person who does projects that take 6 years to finish. So she's already way ahead of me, and I'm just doing day to day, because I think a lot of chefs are day to day. You know, I've done my prep. Woo! Let's write tomorrow's prep, and that's tomorrow. And then after tomorrow's finished, we'll do the day after. So it's daily.
Yeah.
It's a daily thing where her mind is going, woo.
Long term.
Yeah, long term.
Yeah.
So she had the cards printed and this beautiful, lovely green. I told my parents what we're going to call the restaurant. They went, "That's a dreadful name."
Oh, I love it. I totally
yeah,
loved it.
you said that. Thanks, Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
But funny enough, and then they told their friends. Their friends went, "Oh, that's brilliant." And they went, "Oh, yes, no, that is rather good." So, they're just like, if their friends like it, then that's a good idea.
Yes.
So, got on this plane. Yeah, it was a traumatic day. There were lots of tears. And, I was thinking, what? Oh, my God, this is scary. Arrived and just relaxed. Just try to adjust to our completely new life. We're very, very, very busy in London, really hectic. Everything from getting to work to getting home to seeing friends. Everything's full on, and suddenly it's just us. And we've got Rachel's family got a batch up in Mount Maunganui, and we went there for quite a long time for like the first sort of summer. And I was in a right state. I thought, why am I here? I've got, I didn't have a house, I didn't have a job. I felt quite rudderless, and I just, Rachel's like, "Are you going to get on the first plane home?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know if I can do this." Anyway, got a couple of jobs in Mount Maunganui, just in a cafe. I have to cook.
Yeah.
I'm doing toasties. I don't care.
Yeah.
Toasties and burgers. I still want to go and cook for people.
Yeah.
So did that, and while I was cooking, Rachel was planning and doing our plans for the restaurant, and I come back and she says, "How do you want your kitchen to look?" I'm like, "I don't know. I can't. I don't know." She said, I've done design here. Do you think this is nice? This is an aerial view. I'm like, "Oh, whatever." I have to see the place. I have to walk into this place to know. I cannot look
You're
at
more
plans.
hands-on.
Yeah. Or
more
I'm just
physical.
I'm sort of, I have to touch it. Whereas she can, in her mind, she's designing stuff. She said, what are our values?
Yes.
We have to write our values down.
What were your values?
I wasn't sure. Cook and get people to buy it. Authenticity.
Yeah. Okay. Bringing a little bit of you with it.
Completely me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were there for 8 months up at the Mount. We looked at a few places around, and nothing quite stuck. And then we were driving down to Wellington, and I said, Rachel, I think we're going to find somewhere. I just had this feeling, and this friend of ours phoned and said, Big Bad Wolf's just gone into liquidation, which we didn't go, yippee, because that's a bit sad. But we went, oh, and I just said, that's ours. We've been past it. I said, that's our place. And they wanted not very much money for it. And Rachel had everything, she had everything in order. She had the plan, she had she had the bank stuff, she had everything financially sorted.
Well, she had to keep you here.
No, by then, yeah, well, true. If there hadn't been a restaurant, then I maybe might have just gone.
This settled your mind. This was a bit
I
of
had
focus.
I had a base.
This was the focus that you.
We found a flat. We found an apartment in Houghton Bay.
Yeah.
In the Esplanade, literally on the sea. It was my
Lovely.
stunning view. It was incredible, and we got the business, and it was. The place was a pigsty when we got there, and we cleaned every inch of it. It was disgusting.
Was it?
It was disgusting.
Hence Big Bad Wolf, I guess.
Yeah, no, there was lots of stuff that was happening there that I
Right.
won't even talk about. It was really awful.
Right.
The worst thing was that they poured, not the worst thing, one of the things they poured all the fat down the toilet, sort of in the waste, because they didn't want to pay for the waste grease trap.
Grease trap.
It was so disgusting.
Oh.
But there was some horror. It was disgusting. It was really, really foul. There were CCTV cameras in the changing rooms, so God knows what was going on there. I think drugs and stuff. But anyway, swingers parties.
Yeah. We're back to our favourite topic.
And so we cleaned it up, and I was like, we had so much energy. I couldn't do it now. I'm too tired.
Did you do a full refurbishment when you
Yes.
first moved in? You did?
Yeah.
Because you did another one later on as well, didn't you?
No.
Ah, right. So it was just a full one from day one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, because what Rachel said is, give me 2 things that you want from your restaurant. I said, because at Sotheby's I was in the basement. So in winter time, I did not see the light. I'd cycle there in the morning at 7.
Yeah.
And I'd leave at 5.
Yeah, good old English.
And,
Totally.
you know, Saturday morning I was like,
Yeah.
what's that in the sky?
It burns.
It burns my eyes. So I said, I do not want to be a basement. I want to see customers walk through the door.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. So I'm just backtracking. Just not seeing your customers and just getting a docker game. So everything, the food came up and down the dumb waiter. And you had a camera which you could see them, whether they'd open and close the lift at all. And that dehumanises you as a chef.
Yeah.
And also dehumanises the customer.
So you don't get the connection.
Yeah, you don't get any connection.
Or feedback.
Or feedback. Although I would sometimes run to the loo and I'd see someone, I go, oh my God, that was fantastic. And I go, oh. You know, you see someone eating the food that you've just cooked and it would actually look quite shocking.
Right.
And quite weird, like, oh my God, I'm cooking and they're eating it. And, you know, it's weird. I think that's why a lot of chefs, you know, if you don't see your customers, it's been proven that you cook better food when you see your customers.
Makes a lot of sense. And if you're just stuck in a kitchen and you don't get any feedback and you don't get the connection and you're not seeing the faces of the people, you're probably not learning, but also you're just not getting the joy.
Yeah, and I need people.
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Yeah, right.
Well, sometimes not. Sometimes the customers you're like, oh, just get me out of here. You know, on my days off from work, I just sometimes like being at home and not talking to anyone because you've got to. There is, you know, you are acting.
Yes.
I do find that the acting and chefing are quite similar.
I have
You're
to.
prepping, which is your rehearsal, and then the show starts, and you have to get it right, and you've got your audience waiting, going, amuse me or make me something delicious. And if it's delicious, you get a round of applause, and if it's not, you get tomatoes thrown at you.
Yes.
You know, you know, I need that as well. You know, like I was working in an office and in accounts, and you never knew whether you'd done a good job or not, or you'd only hear if one of the numbers was wrong. You know, I need instant gratification. You know, I need to be told that was wonderful.
Yeah.
That's my own insecurity, or wonderful, or did you like that? Did you like that?
Yeah.
Did you like your bacon butty? I'm going to have another
I think it's quite common, right? I don't think it's completely unusual.
No.
So what was the first day at Field and Green like? Oh, we opened the doors.
We opened the doors at 7 a.m. We were open at 7 a.m. We were daytime at the start. Daytime, 6 days a week. 7 a.m. till 3, I think. The first people that walked in, I gave a kiss to.
Did you know them?
No.
Oh.
They probably thought it was very strange.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're my first customer!" And I went, "Oh!" Yeah, very Kiwi, like, "Oh!" We're not coming back here again.
Back off.
Actually, it was an absolute... The weather, it was May the 13th, May the 14th. The weather was dreadful. There were floods everywhere. But we did 45 people.
Right.
This is the day, these are in the olden days, where actually when there was a new place open, it was the talk of the town, whereas now it's less so. But, you know, a new restaurant open, oh God, has David Burton been in yet? You know, all this stuff. It's really, there was excitement. And, you know, people knew about these two ladies from London.
Yes.
That had come over and they're opening a restaurant, and, you know, and you know, I didn't know, but, you know, people were kind of gossiping about us. But I quite like that.
Yeah, and I remember the gossip. I mean, it's funny because I do remember that very well, actually, because we used to work with Big Bad Wolf.
Oh, God.
So,
okay.
And then I remember it closed very suddenly.
Yeah.
And then I kept an eye on that building because it's such a good location.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. And there wasn't not much around at that point either, was there? No.
Not really.
Pandora.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And then you guys turned up. And
So it was quite, look, in Wellington it's like, you'd be a very big fish in a small pond, which I quite like as well.
Yeah.
And that first day was a rush. Oh no, because what we did was, I remember I had one chef, just me and another chef, and we hired all the front of house staff. And I remember the night before we opened, we came back, about 10 o'clock at night after prepping, and we just sat down. I was like, supposing no one turns up.
Yeah.
We had no idea. Supposing people don't get what I'm doing, or just don't like what I'm doing. Just suppose.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we're here now. We've just got to hope that it works.
How did you come up with the menu?
Well, it was very kind of heavy on the bakery. I always loved. I was a real kedgeree person. In London, I make kedgeree at the brunch during the brunches on the weekend at Sotheby's, and kedgeree was like my thing. And I get here, I go, I'm going to put kedgeree on the menu. Oh, well, you can't because Nick Howe's got kedgeree. I'm like,
okay.
Well, I think we can.
Two people can
I
have the
think
same
we
dish.
can. You better be careful, because Nick Howe's is the best. I'm like, I don't know. Wow. You mean I'm like this young pretendant coming in with my kedgeree? It was kind of hilarious, actually. So I said, and I think I went to Nick Howe and tried the kedgeree. I met Kelder. And I was like, well, this is nothing like my kedgeree, So I think two can live in harmony.
I think so, yeah, especially in one town.
Yeah, and also I love cheese scones. I didn't realise that cheese scones was such a thing here.
Right.
So I make cheese scones at Sotheby's, and I think mine are pretty damn good. And they go, oh, cheese scones? Oh, well, there's a lot of good cheese scones around in Wellington. I'm like, okay, all right, well, me too. Mine, I think mine are pretty damn nice as well. So came up with it was actually, when I look at the menu, I've got the menu somewhere upstairs of our opening menu, and it was really small. And when you see what we actually did by the end, I'm looking at it going, I could have done that on my own.
Right.
But it was such a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Had kedgeree, I can't actually remember what we had on the menu. It was kind of brunchy.
I came and had dinner there I would say it would have been your first month, and I had kedgeree.
Oh, well then I think, yeah, okay, that's a funny dinner menu. I think we were doing, it was a bit of a, let's just open and do the brunch menu for dinner.
Yeah.
And, people are quite funny about
Oh, I love kedgeree.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I could eat, in London you can get away with that. You can have your all-day dining.
Yeah.
But people like, that's brunch and then that's dinner.
Yeah.
And, they're all different, and I want a steak or a duck breast for my dinner. I don't want kedgeree. But yeah, we evolved.
Yeah.
We evolved over the years.
So how long was Field and Green
open for? 8.5 years.
Wow. Gosh, that time went quick.
That killed us almost. Wow, it was tough work, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, things were very good at the beginning. Things were really taking off, and then the dreaded COVID turned up, and then we recovered a bit, but then it was just everyone's attitudes changed.
Yeah.
And
what's your take on that?
Well, we used to be so busy. We stopped doing lunches.
Yeah.
We used to be so busy for lunch. All the ladies, all the older ladies would come for lunch and have their kedgeree, or their smashed peas, or their smoked salmon crepes, and it was the ladies who lunched would go out.
Yeah.
And we could be packed, and suddenly the fear of getting something,
right, and
they all drifted away or stayed at home, and that, so the day culture really changed, and we just thought, you know what, I don't think it's worth it for us.
So the fear lingered.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, and so you were losing a lot of daytime customers.
Yes. And things are getting tougher, things are harder to get hold of, ingredients wise, staff.
Yeah.
Wow. You go on Facebook, Wellington Hospitality Facebook, and if someone said, hi, I've just arrived, and suddenly 27 comments, PM me now, I've got the best
I know I saw someone the other day post on their front of house experience. I thought they're going to get absolutely bombarded.
Well, less so now, funnily enough.
Right.
No, because people are now holding on to their jobs a bit more.
Okay.
And but no, when it was jump on someone.
Right.
What do you want? I'll give you anything. Come and work for me.
Right.
So all that, all those fantastic European people that would turn up, the French and the Spanish, the Italians, that would, add a bit of flair and variety to our services. People love, customers love for hearing different accents and stuff like that. And, that was kind of gone. Just the bloody Kiwis left.
Yeah. So you're coming to the end of Field and Green.
Yeah, that last year was very tough. Just financially incredibly tough. Everything, prices going through the roof. People are, what if you haven't got the money? What's the first thing that goes? Eating out.
Yeah.
We weren't eating out.
Yeah. Yeah. When you stop doing the one thing that you're trying to sell, you realise. Yeah.
And it's a great joy. Something that goes, going out to eat is just one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And so you obviously get to a point you think, right, okay, we need to. How does that work? How does that come about?
I'll tell you how it worked. It was quite well organised. That January, I was almost at the end of my tether. I'd had a very bad knee. I could barely walk. It's much better now, but it just very low on staff. All our fridges, like a walk-in fridge, broke. Our other fridges broke.
Mm.
Money was going out just one direction.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get staff, and Rachel said to me, our lease ends at the end of the year. This is going to be our last year. And I was like, okay. So we knew it. We didn't tell anyone. And it was hard, we were like, there was lots of tears and thinking, have we failed? Or what's life going to be like after Field and Green? Am I going to be anything? Do people care about me anymore? Will I have friends anymore? Am I just the persona of Field and Green, etc.? I just saw insecurities and stuff like that.
Of course. At that point, do you think your feeling towards food changed? Did you?
Yeah, well, I think what changed was my job was not just about cooking. It was about putting out fires.
Right.
Which is what a business owner is like. Anyway, so, I've got my joy back around cooking since I've been out of our own business. Yeah. And I'm cooking just because I like cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking more at home, etc.
So the soul had gone.
Well, I would never say that, because for me, there's one thing I would say, I'm very consistent with my craft, and I was always drawn into everyone. It doesn't care how you're feeling, whatever. This food has got to be the same that it tasted. That kedgeree tasted the same from day one till 8.5 years later.
Yeah.
I guarantee that. No one said, this is not as good as it used to be. And for me, that's everything. Consistency is everything, and I drum that into everyone. So I would do it, but I wouldn't necessarily get a lot of joy. Yeah. But so I think that's what it was really. But I'd like to think that I didn't ever let standards slip. Well, as much as I can. But it was very hard to get out of bed in the morning. Right. And it was a grind. It was an absolute grind.
And in something that's so emotionally linked to yourself, it's impossible almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time we'd actually, in our heads gone, okay, we're going to close, and fine, we're going to tell everyone we're going to close in December. We had a date. We're going to close then. That's Christmas. It'll be on a high. We wanted to do it on a high. We'll tell everyone in October. We'll tell the staff, etc. So a lot of staff, funnily enough, had said, "Oh, Laura, by the way, I'm leaving at the end of the year." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yes. Yes. Another person I didn't have to worry about. A lot of people were, it's a circular,
both,
whatever.
All of the above.
Bigally, yeah. Sort of things.
Circular,
so,
yes.
Yes. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm going to college," or "I'm here," or "It's the end of the year, I'm moving on." Da, 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 da. So quite a few people were naturally moving on. Great. Yeah. Fine. So we told them, and then by the time we actually told, I think we made an announcement in October. And we turned our phones off and we went out for the day. And we're like, "I'm just gonna go." We came back. It's like we had 200 bookings in one day,
Oh wow.
and you know, the outpouring of grief,
Yes. Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
It was actually very nice.
Yeah.
It was really, and I suppose if no one had mentioned anything, we would have been quite hurt, but it was pretty full on.
Yeah.
And for that last 3 months, of course, we were fully booked
Wow.
and made a profit that year because of those last 3 months.
Right.
Because
And was
It
there
was
any part
full.
of you thinking I'm doing the
No.
wrong thing?
that year, what?
That you were closing was the wrong thing?
No. I said we could just like say, hey, so popular, we decided to stay open.
Yeah.
No, in my head, I had
You.
emotionally, I'm like,
That's it.
that I am ready. I'm ready to close, and Rachel was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed those last 3 months. They were really crazy, but I
What a
felt
great
very
way to go.
Felt very loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, like last time was very emotional, and then we went home and like, wow, we've done it, you know. And I didn't feel that I failed. I didn't feel I failed at all. I felt that we opened when we wanted, and we closed when we wanted,
Yeah.
and everyone was paid.
And you.
I think that was very much the thing of we want to hold our heads up high and go, we've done really well and we've paid everyone, and yeah, it's clean. It's a clean cut.
Yeah. And you stuck to your values through
Yeah.
8.5 years
Yeah.
of selling the same
Yeah.
food. Or
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
same food,
Yeah.
but you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Your
Yeah, yeah.
food.
Yeah,
So what's after that?
quite a lot actually. Immediately I just started cooking again. I was helping friends out. People are like, oh,
Was there any part of you that thought, okay, I've had enough of Wellington?
no,
This was home now.
yeah, we've got a house with our little
Yeah.
doggy
Yeah.
souffle.
We do have to mention souffle.
No, very happy here.
Yeah.
Love Wellington.
Great.
I think a lot of people said, oh, you're going home, you're going to go back to London. I was like, no, this is my life
Yeah.
here.
I think it's the obvious question, isn't it?
Yeah.
When a chapter closes,
Yeah.
people think you're going to go back to where
Yeah.
you started from, but
Yeah,
no, this is now.
not at all. No, I love Wellington.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's such a great place.
Great. So you're here. That's
yeah.
it. Full stop.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
doing?
So I just like went straight into cooking again,
Yeah.
helping friends out, getting paid. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Woo!"
Yeah.
Getting paid, and not, you know, like I went to friends, Lucy and Dan in Martinborough.
Yeah.
They own this place called Nara, which is a sort of brunchy place, and they just said, oh God, can you help out? I said, yeah, so I would like do a few weekends there, stay with them, do 2 or 3 shifts, etc.
Nice.
And, you know, one day the coffee machine broke, and I'm like, see ya! See you next week!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great, I'm still being paid.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what that was like. Yeah.
Because occasionally getting time and a half for doing working in a public holiday, it's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
wow, it's coming back to me for a change. So did a bit of that. Did a little sort of residency in. Well, it was a residency in Martinborough because they opened nights and it was Field and Green at night. So
Yeah.
that was great. You know, we've still got a following.
Yeah,
And,
I know.
and
Yeah.
you don't need bricks and mortar to have a following. You know, I think that's what I've realised.
Yeah, no, you
that
created a brand and
Yeah.
you're taking that brand
Yes.
with you.
Bambushki, again, friends. I did 3 months there. Again, we put it on our website. Got 5,000 people on our mailing list. People start turning up. But, you know, it's great. And then I'm at Loretta at the moment. Just helping out, not in just one of the team, which I
Yeah.
really enjoy.
Right.
I really do. It's just like I'm just one of the team. I get on with everyone, and I also started teaching at Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, so tell us about that. 'Cause
It's very
very
different. It's very
interesting.
Yes. It's
So
very
this isn't
challenging
your-
work actually.
An untrained chef is now teaching at Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, thanks.
We're not telling them that?
They did not. They did not. I think they want people who they want restaurateurs.
Yeah.
You know, want people who actually from the outside world, not just tutors.
Well, so much experience.
Yeah.
Going through that whole business, open, close, it's just amazing.
And I've got a class of 22 students.
Wow.
And I'm teaching them theory, which is, I mean, it's broadening my mind. I'm doing PowerPoint presentations. I've never done that in my life. Rachel's shown me a lot. Because computers are not my friend, really.
Right.
I'm paper and pencil. But I've had to learn really quickly in the last few months. And it's broadened my mind. And it's broadened my brain. It's made my brain, different part of my brain work.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good thing.
So you're learning at the same time they are, and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm also doing cookery demonstrations.
Right.
Which is very different from doing one like I did in the kitchen, where I'm just, playing about. You're educating these people.
Yeah.
And it's got to work.
So this is the next generation of chefs, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean.
How many do you think of them? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a visa diploma.
Right. Okay.
Maybe cut that out, will you?
Yes. Make a note. Cut that out.
Some care.
Yeah.
Some are actually working in restaurants in Wellington.
Do you think you can pick the chef in a person?
Yeah, I know, because basically I'm doing a demonstration of a couple of dishes, and in the afternoon they are then cooking them.
Yeah.
And there's a few that I already know that I like. Oh yes, I'm looking forward to getting see what they come up with.
Yeah.
They're just more enthusiastic.
Yeah. And I guess that's it was a bad question, but that's what I'm getting at. Being a chef is not just about being able to cook. It's the enthusiasm and the ability to think and work under pressure.
And I hate the P word, passion, but because it's so overused, and chefs talk about, I've got so much passion. So I was like, okay,
Careful.
if you still got passion in 40 years' time, then I'll say you got passion. I'm still excited about a bacon sandwich, and I haven't been cooking for 40. I have almost been cooking for 40 years.
There you go.
And I'm still excited.
Yeah.
And I still want people to really love that sandwich. Yeah. That's called passion. Passion is just it's banded around. Like,
well, 40 years ago, if you'd said passion, it meant a lot. Maybe now it has changed.
Yeah, it's the reality TV-ness of it.
Yeah.
The passion.
Yeah.
So much passion, and then the next day they're gone.
So if we look back at that whole career, anything you would have done differently? I know it's a cliche of a question, but it just seems to fit.
I think I probably would have liked to have gone to chef school and worked my way up from commie to sous, commie to demi, to, in a more traditional way than I would have, because there are holes in some of my knowledge.
Right.
But I mean, it would have been just quite interesting just to know that I know how to do every single sauce, or I can do it. I'll just do it my way.
Yeah.
But no, I just think no.
Well,
I think apart from that would be quite a nice thing to do. But if
so a little bit more formal
maybe
training. But the reality is, and what seems to come through the whole conversation is, your value hasn't changed.
No.
It's very much about that community connection and soul food.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Making people happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds a bit cliched as well, but really, so many chefs do not give a damn about their customers. Most chefs hate their customers.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, you can't, well, not hate, but you're like, oh God, they just walk for the blood. I mean, sometimes when it was busy, I'm like, oh Jesus, not another table of six. I mean, now you think, wow, great, a table of six, that's fantastic. But when you're really, really tired and someone wants to talk to you about something, and you're like, oh, I've had enough.
Yes.
Of people. But I do love, I love joys of people, because going back when Rachel said, what do you want? And I said, I want people to walk through the door, and I want a chef bar. And so she designed this chef bar, which was actually in the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, we should have talked about that, because it was iconic. It was the ability for you to be there on show, and for people to sit along it.
Yeah. And sit along, and I could watch them eat.
Yeah.
And they could watch us cook.
Yeah. And
the really funny thing is, like, if we were really, really busy, and they were waiting at the chef bar, and I said, I'm really sorry about the wait. They go, no, don't worry. They were apologetic, because they could see we were just ran.
Yeah.
Whereas if they'd been sitting at the table of six, had been sitting at the front, they probably would have said, oh, where's our food?
Yeah.
Because they've got a disconnect.
Yeah, there's not many industries where you can get that connection with the person that's providing you with whatever you're paying for.
Yes.
I mean, as a producer, we have no idea.
No.
You know, you might every now and then get a review on Google or something, but even then you don't know whether they're doing it just because they feel sorry for you or because they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But that connection, face to face.
Yeah, it's so personal, it's so human, and I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, as I said, if I'm not ready in time, and we get a table come in, I'm like, oh shit. Ugh. You know, it can be the worst thing because you can't, you've got to put a show on. Suddenly you've got to put all your stuff away, pull it tidy up, and go, hi, welcome to Field of Green. Been here before? Oh, you know.
Yeah, is that why they don't make chefs the front of house as well?
Probably.
Yeah.
And a lot of chefs, you know, I think when they started, I said, well, you know, we have people sitting here, they're like, huh? But, you know, I think they've all think that they've learnt how to be more personable and you can't start swearing. You gotta keep your temper in check or your whole manner, you know, it's gotta be right.
Yeah, and it would make it awkward for someone sitting there.
Yeah. Although they all say, "Oh, you're going to start shouting at us."
Yeah.
And Gordon Ramsay. I'm like, I've had $1 for every time someone said that. But you know, it's hilarious. People think they want you to be a bully. In what other profession where they go, "Oh, great, are you going to bully me in the accounts department?"
Because we're so used to seeing it on TV, and
it's
been normalised.
It has been normalised.
Yeah.
But it's wrong.
It is wrong. Of course, it's.
I know, but people don't think it's wrong.
No, they don't. They enjoy it.
You know, oh, you're going to throw a pan at me?
Yeah.
Are you going to hit him?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not actually, because I'd probably be in trouble.
Yeah. And it can go too far, as been seen in the news recently in England.
Yeah. So, but there's some sort of glamour around it for some weird reason.
Yeah. The only bullies that are allowed to be bullies.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, Laura, thank you very much.
That's okay, you're very welcome.
This has been absolutely a joy. And has that cut out? Okay.
Oh, no. You didn't press record.
No, we did. Yeah, definitely.
That one's all good. That one's good. We've got quite a few redundancies, so it should.
Right.
That's been going the entire time. It's
Hang
going.
on.
That's sweet. Amazing.
What?
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Can we quickly do, I just had an idea, we should do the same shot every start.
Yeah.
Except it'll have to be your phone right now because mine is. Nah, like a sit down, it's see Daniel, like he just sits down and swings it around to the person. Just for socials.